I haven't interviewed somebody who's gotten clemency, so it's a different interview. What's your reaction to what the governor did last week?
Well, I guess I could say I'm okay with him sparing my life, as he called it, but he kind of didn't really spare my life. He took me from going home or possibly going home to life without parole, and I didn't understand that because the parole board ruled to basically free me.
Yeah.
No way he looked at the parole board's recommendation. He came back and said life without parole the next day, and here I sit.
Were you surprised? I mean, it was a pretty strong message from the parole board, 11-0, to give you essentially a ticket out at some point. The governor's taken that away.
It was devastating, but it is what it is. I just got to hope that one day I still have a chance to go home. Maybe something might happen, maybe it won't, but it is what it is. I got to deal with it however it comes.
You talked to your attorney, Vicky, right? Is there anything else you can do here legal-wise? Is there any appeal or anything else at your disposal, or is this it until another governor maybe comes into office?
Basically, we got something in the court right now, an issue in the 4-panel court, so it's not lost yet, and I'm hoping we don't have to wait long or whatever, but I want to file another clemency request, and I know it's going to take some time, but life without parole, that's all I got is time, so I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up hope that I'm stuck here for the rest of my life. The parole board did a real good. They finally looked at this case like nobody ever did, and they did the right thing. And the governor he snatched it away. I don't know why. I'm still trying to get my head around it, but he just snatched it away, and like I said, here I sit.
This is the first time in, I think, is it 30 years that you haven't been on death row?
31 years, yeah.
What's that like?
Surreal. I went from there right out into the population, right? Smack in the middle of everything. I know I can make my adjustments however I need to, but wow. Yeah, it's surreal. That's the word for it.
I don't want to go back and spend a lot of time on what happened to put you here, but I do want to get at least on record. Can you give me a quick summary from your perspective? What happened 30 years ago, and why are you not the person who should be sitting here today?
30 years ago, a boy killed a man. He was with me, but I had nothing to do with this crime. He confessed. He made a deal after that to put it on me. I ended up on death row. No evidence, no witnesses, no gun, no nothing. Just him changing his confessions and saying I did the murder.
Did you know this guy very well?
No, not at all. I probably knew him as much as I know you.
So just one day, somehow you guys hooked up and you're in this position.
Bad situation, bad timing.
Mr. Leach, the man who was killed, did you know this guy?
Yeah, because I grew up in the neighborhood. And if I can't say to his family, this all went wrong. I didn't kill your daddy. I'm not his murderer. The boy that murdered him is out there on the street right now.
Usually in clemency, at least the clemency hearings I've covered for death row inmates, the inmates offer some mitigation, offer kind of stories about rough childhoods growing up and why they ended up turning to crime or whatever in the first place. Is that what happened to you? I mean, you graduated from high school, right?
I went to Cleveland State for a year. I went to Tri-C for a year. I was on the right path. I happened to turn left, that's all. Just a moment that got me caught up. I didn't have a bad childhood. you know, my life was pretty much okay. I turned left when I should have turned right.
You had some other kind of minor run-ins with the law before this happened. Would that be an accurate portrayal?
Yeah, minor.
Kind of.
Attempted criminal tools, petty theft robbery where I stole some money out of cash register, drunk and disorderly. Back a while ago, one of my friends shot one of my brother's friends in the butt, and they tried to give me a case for that until he turned himself in, but no, I don't have a criminal record.
Is that you were charged at one time with aggravated murder? I think I read from the transcript or whatever.
Nobody was killed. No, he got shot in the butt. That's all it was.
But you didn't do that either.
No,
they just put it on you because you wouldn't help.
No,
essentially.
I wouldn't tell them what they wanted to know, and they just held me until the guy pled guilty. Once he pled guilty, they let me go.
What did you want to be when you grew up? When you were a kid?
Funny, a lawyer.
Really? Why?
Because they was classy. They made the money, and you either do it legitimately or you end up a drug dealer or something. I didn't want to end up a drug dealer, or I really didn't want to end up here, but yeah, I would have been a good lawyer.
What were you studying at college?
Nothing really. That was my first year. I just dived in right out of high school, and it just kind of didn't fit me right away. So I ended up out of it.
You spent more than half of your life on death row. How did that change who you were back then compared to who you are now?
Back then, I was a stupid kid, an idiot. Just in the way, basically. And I guess I grew up, and I thought I grew up enough to, maybe walk away from this one day, but don't seem like it now.
Why don't you think people believe you?
But
I mean, a lot of people do, but people like and I know there's you have issues with the prosecutor and stuff that they did, underhanded stuff, according to what I've read. Why don't people like the prosecutor? Why don't you think people like the governor believe you, that you weren't the guy who pulled the trigger and killed this guy?
Because it's right in the evidence. All the evidence points to him. The only thing that put me here was him saying I did it. They had a couple of witnesses that said a few other things, but nothing to make me a murderer. Everything. This is a guy that made like 15 different statements. He was confessing all the way up until I got out the courts. He tried to get immunity, and the prosecutor wouldn't give him immunity, so he shut his mouth, and that was the end of it. They really closed the door on me, basically. What his name was, Bill Mason. He could have offered the guy immunity and let him tell the truth, or let him say whatever he was gonna say, and maybe this would have been ended then. He never gave him that chance. He refused to give him immunity, and like I said, my appeals died there.
Have you had any contact with, is his name Leroy Head?
No.
Since any of that?
No.
But he's out on the street.
He's been on the street since, I think, 2008?
Did you ever threaten him?
No. He actually said I threatened his sisters. But, we had paperwork from the jail intake that showed he never even had sisters. Nobody ever went to check that. They actually put a murder on me that I supposed to have won. This was one of his threats that, I had committed a murder in Atlantic City somewhere, and I had beat the case, and that if he tell, I was going to kill him or something. Mm-hmm. He was just making up stories as he go, and I guess they just picked one they liked, and I couldn't defend it.
Have you ever killed anybody?
No, sir.
Have you ever seriously hurt anybody?
No, sir.
Not before in prison? or
Never.
after?
I'm death row 31 years and never even had a fight.
Parole board said something about, commented on your adjustment to prison and some disciplinary stuff that went there. And I think some of the parole board members said, if I'm getting this right,
I was a butthole.
you should have a little more time to adjust before getting out. How do you respond to that? All that stuff that's on your record about disciplinary stuff.
I was a butthole when I came to prison. I'm a 23-year-old man on death row for something he didn't do. I was angry. And I just, for the first few years, I kind of let myself go. But I turned that around quickly. And I did have a few write-ups that they had to look at, but nothing violent, nothing, attacking COs or, they call threats like, I'm gonna hit you in your head. And, nothing, my prison record not really bad. I got a lot of write-ups.
Sounds like a lot of talk. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Being in the shower 15 minutes too long. Having a blanket cut in half. It all added up to a bunch of tickets.